The first time Captain Elias Thorne saw her, the world seemed to hold its breath. He had landed on the fractured plains of Viralia 9, a distant moon wrapped in pale mist and silence, where human boots had never touched before. The sky shimmered with faint silver hues, and the wind whispered through crystalline flora that glowed softly like embers of frozen light. It was beautiful and haunting. Elias wasn't here for beauty. His ship, the Horizon, was damaged after a meteor storm. Half his crew had gone silent. The rest were scattered across unknown terrain. He was alone, scanning the horizon for life or a miracle. Then, through the haze, he saw her. She stood upon a ridge, her long hair gleaming with starlit silver, her gown made of threads that caught the wind like liquid moonlight. Her eyes, vast and deep as twilight oceans, met his, and something ancient stirred within him. He had seen no alien like her, nothing so human yet so impossibly divine. Elias raised his hand in cautious greeting. "Identify yourself," he called through his translator, his voice steady despite the storm of awe within him. The being tilted her head slightly, then descended the ridge with grace that defied gravity. She stopped only a few steps away, close enough that Elias could see the delicate patterns that glowed faintly across her skin, like living constellations. "I am Lyrai," she said softly. Her voice was melodic, carrying warmth despite the cool air. "Princess of Viralia." Elias hesitated. Royalty. He'd stumbled not just onto alien soil, but into a throne's shadow. "I mean no harm," he said quickly. "My ship crashed. I need help." Lyrai's eyes softened, yet there was something guarded there, something lonely. "Few who fall from the stars ever survive," she murmured. "You are either very lucky or very stubborn." He managed a faint smile. "Both, I suppose." A flicker of amusement touched her lips, just for a heartbeat. But then she turned toward the glowing horizon. "Follow me, human, before the mist eats the light." He followed. Through the strange crystalline fields where the ground seemed to pulse like breathing glass, Lyrai led him to a structure carved from translucent stone, a palace woven into the mountain's heart. Inside, light drifted through columns as if time itself had slowed to watch her walk. Elias had seen wonders in his travels across the galaxy, but nothing like this. Every step echoed in ancient harmony. Every breath carried the scent of starlight and memory. "You live alone here?" he asked quietly. Lyrai paused. "My people sleep," she said. "Our world was broken long ago. I guard what remains." Her tone was neither proud nor bitter, only calm, as if centuries had taught her to make peace with sorrow. Elias looked at her then, not as a princess, but as someone unbearably human, a lone soul burdened with duty and silence. He knelt slightly. "Then let me help you guard it, until I can repair my ship." Her eyes flickered in surprise, then softened again, just barely. "You would stand watch beside a stranger from another sky?" He smiled faintly. "I've fought storms, darkness, and despair. Loneliness is the hardest enemy, so yes, I'll stay." For the first time, Lyrai smiled fully. The palace light seemed to shimmer in response, brighter, warmer, alive again. That night, beneath the glowing arches of her world, the human and the alien princess shared their first quiet meal. She spoke of the stars her ancestors once crossed, and he spoke of the earth she had only seen in ancient transmissions. And when she laughed, soft and unguarded, Elias felt the weight of 1,000 miles between species fade. For a single fleeting moment, two worlds breathed as one. He didn't know it then, but that single choice to stay would change the fate of both their hearts, and perhaps the galaxy itself. Morning arrived not with sunlight, but with ripples of glowing mist drifting through the open arches of the palace. The air shimmered like silver silk, and every sound echoed softly, as though the world itself whispered. Elias woke to find Lyrai already standing near the balcony, her gaze fixed upon the distant plains. Her gown flowed around her like woven light, and the wind carried faint melodies through the air. "You watch the horizon every morning," he said. Stepping beside her, her expression was serene but wistful. "It's where my people vanished," she replied. "Every dawn I look for them, hoping one day the stars might bring them back." Elias followed her gaze. The horizon was endless, glowing faintly as if filled with memories of what once was. "What happened to them?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, her fingers brushing against the balcony's crystal rail. A war, she whispered. Not fought with weapons, but with fear. When the great silence came, my people sealed themselves within the deep sleep, a stasis chamber beneath the mountains. I was chosen to remain awake, to guard our world until it healed. Her voice trembled for the first time. That was 700 years ago. Elias's breath caught. 7 centuries of solitude, of waiting, hoping, remembering. He couldn't imagine it. You've been alone. All that time? Her lips curved into a faint, fragile smile. Not alone. The palace remembers me. The stars speak in dreams. But yes, human, I have not heard another living voice until yours. He said nothing. Words felt small beside her pain. He simply looked at her, understanding written in his silence. And somehow she seemed to feel it too. Your kind, she said softly, still believes in love, don't they? Elias blinked, surprised by the question. We do. Even when the universe tries to crush it. Lyrae tilted her head, studying him. Strange. For all your wars and noise, your heart still burned bright. She turned back to the horizon. Perhaps that is why the stars allowed you to find me. He laughed quietly. I'm not sure the stars had much choice. My navigation system failed. That made her smile again. Warmer this time. Genuine. Maybe fate wears broken machinery as disguise, she said. For a moment they simply stood together, bathed in silver light, the silence between them neither empty nor awkward, just peaceful. Later that day, Lyrae guided him through the palace. Hallways of transparent stone revealed entire worlds within. Floating lights, preserved flowers that never wilted, murals that moved when touched. These are memories of Virelia, she explained, her voice soft with reverence. Every wall tells a story. Every beam remembers laughter. Elias reached out to one of the glowing murals. It showed children playing beneath a crystal tree. The moment his fingers brushed it, the image rippled and faint laughter filled the hall. He stepped back, startled. They live, she said gently, within echoes. There was both pride and pain in her tone. I've kept them here hoping one day they'll wake to their world again. Elias looked at her, admiration deepening in his chest. You've carried this alone for so long. She met his gaze, eyes shimmering. You speak as though it's a burden. But perhaps I was waiting for someone who would understand why I stayed. His heart tightened at that. He didn't reply. He didn't need to. As evening fell, they shared food again, strange fruits that shimmered like frozen dew. Lyrae asked him about Earth, about the oceans, the rain, the feeling of grass underfoot. Elias described it as best as words could allow. When he spoke of children laughing in city streets, her eyes filled with light and something else. Longing. You speak of it as though it's a dream, she said softly. He smiled sadly. Sometimes it feels like one, but it's real. It's home. Lyrae lowered her gaze. I've forgotten what home feels like, she whispered. Perhaps that's what breaks the heart of a queen most deeply. Elias wanted to say something comforting, but no human phrase seemed enough, so he simply reached out and placed his hand gently over hers. For the briefest instant, she froze. Then slowly she turned her hand beneath his, letting their fingers intertwine. 2 different worlds, 1 heartbeat apart, and in that silent gesture, the lonely princess and the stranded human found something that neither time nor distance had taken from the universe. The palace had begun to change. Elias noticed it first in the air, brighter, warmer, almost humming with new life. Lyrae's laughter, faint and rare at first, had begun to echo through the halls like sunlight breaking through mist. Even the crystalline walls seemed to respond, glowing with a faint pulse whenever she smiled. In just a handful of days, the silence of 7 centuries had softened into something almost alive again. Elias found himself walking those halls in quiet wonder. He wasn't a man easily swayed by beauty. He'd seen nebulae bloom and stars collapse, but nothing compared to watching the last princess of a forgotten world begin to smile again. That morning, she led him deeper into the mountain. There's something I want to show you, she said, her tone both hesitant and excited. The air grew cooler as they descended through glowing tunnels until they reached a vast, circular chamber. At its center stood a glass-like structure, shaped like a cocoon surrounded by floating orbs of light. This, she said reverently, is the Chamber of Songs. Elias frowned slightly. Songs? Lyrae approached one of the orbs and placed her palm upon it. Instantly, the entire chamber came alive. Light poured across the walls as music, soft, ethereal, heartbreakingly beautiful, filled the air. It wasn't just sound. It was emotion, memory, and life intertwined. "This is how my people recorded their history," she explained, her voice trembling with feeling. "Every note is a soul. Every melody a moment lived." He stood there, speechless. The song rose and fell like a living heartbeat, and images danced within the light. Children running, lovers embracing, warriors bidding farewell beneath twin moons. Elias felt the weight of centuries pressing against his chest. "They're still here," he whispered. Lyrae nodded slowly. "Yes, sleeping, dreaming, waiting. The songs are all that remain awake with me." Her expression softened into melancholy. "Sometimes when I cannot bear the silence, I come here and listen. It reminds me that I once belonged to something greater than loneliness." Elias looked at her, truly looked at her, and saw the cracks beneath her grace. The strength that carried her all these years was wrapped in sadness too vast for words. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Lyrae, you're not alone anymore." She turned to him then, eyes glimmering like distant galaxies. "You say that as if you could bear my eternity," she whispered. "I don't need eternity," he said softly. "Just today, and the next after that." Something fragile and powerful stirred between them. For a long moment, the music played on as their gazes held, neither daring to break it. Then Lyrae blinked, a faint tremor in her composure. "You speak like the songs do, honestly," he smiled. "Maybe I just hear the same melody." They spent hours within the chamber, listening to voices of a forgotten age. Lyrae told him the meaning of each tune. One was a lullaby for newborns. Another, a hymn for travelers returning home. She sang quietly with them, her voice so beautiful it almost hurt to hear. And when she sang the final song, a song of farewell to a dying star, Elias found himself standing closer than he meant to. Her voice trembled slightly, and for a moment he saw her hand tighten at her side, holding back tears. Without a word, he reached out and brushed one away before it could fall. She looked up at him, shocked, vulnerable, and radiant. The light from the chamber bathed them both in gold and violet hues, and in that moment, Elias felt something in his chest shift. It wasn't desire nor duty. It was something purer, the deep aching wish to protect this soul who had guarded her people's dreams alone for centuries. When the song ended, silence returned like a sigh. Lyrae turned away, her voice barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't look at me like that, human." Elias smiled gently. "How am I looking?" "Like you see me," she said softly. "Not as a princess, not as an alien, but as someone who can still be loved." He said nothing, but the truth was written in the silence between their breaths. That night, as the stars drifted like lanterns above Virelia's shimmering horizon, Lyrae stood on her balcony and whispered into the wind, "Why does his presence make my heart remember what it forgot to feel?" Far below, in the human's guest chamber, Elias couldn't sleep either. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about survival. He was thinking about her. Days became weeks. The palace, once silent and still, now hummed with a quiet rhythm of life. Lyrae began to speak more often, laugh more often, and walk slower, as though she no longer feared time. Elias, too, had changed. The loneliness that once haunted his eyes had softened, replaced by something warmer, quieter. Something that had her name in it. But peace on a forgotten world is never eternal. It began with a faint tremor one morning, a whisper in the stones beneath their feet. Elias looked up from repairing a communication relay in the courtyard. "Did you feel that?" Lyrae turned, her expression instantly wary. "Yes." The mountain breathes uneasily. The tremor faded as quickly as it came, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. Later that evening, Lyrae led him to the star sanctum, a great hall with a domed ceiling made entirely of transparent crystal. From there, one could see the entire expanse of the sky, filled with rivers of light and drifting galaxies. She stood beneath the stars like a vision from another age. "My ancestors said the stars were alive," she murmured. "They warned that when they begin to weep, it means the veil between worlds grows thin." Elias frowned. "You think the tremor was—" Before he could finish, a soft chime echoed from the chamber walls. Strange symbols began to glow across the floor, pulsing like veins of light. Lyra gasped and knelt beside them. No, it can't be. Like, what is it? Elias asked, stepping closer. The awakening sequence, she whispered. The deep sleep chambers. They're stirring. Elias blinked. Your people, they're waking up? Lyra's voice trembled between hope and fear. Perhaps, or perhaps something has gone wrong. She placed her hand over the glowing runes, her eyes closing as she whispered words in her native tongue. The air shimmered faintly, then dimmed. She turned to him, face pale. The stasis fields are unstable. If they collapse, my people will die before they ever wake. Elias's instincts kicked in. Then we'll stabilize them. Show me where the controls are. You would help? She asked, almost disbelieving. He met her gaze. I didn't come this far to let you face this alone. The words seemed to strike her heart. For a brief moment, her composure broke. Then she nodded, resolve hardening in her eyes. Then come, human. Tonight we descend into the heart of Virelia. They traveled deep beneath the palace through corridors wrapped in light and memory. The deeper they went, the more the air hummed with ancient energy. Finally, they reached the core chamber, a vast cavern filled with hundreds of crystalline pods, each holding a sleeping Virelian within. It was breathtaking and terrifying. Blue light pulsed weakly from each pod, some flickering like dying candles. Lyra ran to the central console, her hands moving across the runes in desperate precision. Elias crouched beside the power conduits, analyzing their pattern. The energy flow's collapsing, he said. You're losing balance in your containment grid. Her voice shook. The core crystal is fractured. I cannot repair it alone. Then you won't have to. Elias removed a power cell from his damaged flight suit and held it up. It's not perfect, but human tech runs on adaptive fields. Maybe we can link it to your system. Lyra stared at him. If you fail, it could kill you. He smiled faintly. I've had worse odds. Working side by side, they fused human technology with alien design. Sparks flew, light cascaded, and the ground rumbled as if the planet itself held its breath. Lyra's hands trembled as she channeled her energy through the circuit, and Elias steadied her, placing his hand gently over hers. Together, their lights merged, human warmth and alien radiance blending into a single pulse that filled the chamber. The pods flickered once, twice, then steadied into soft rhythmic glow. Lyra exhaled shakily. It's holding, Elias smiled through the exhaustion. Told you, stubbornness helps. For a long moment, neither spoke. The light around them softened, wrapping them in quiet gold. Then Lyra turned to him, her eyes shimmering with unspoken emotion. Elias Thorne, she whispered, his name trembling on her lips as if tasting it for the first time. Your heart, it shines brighter than any star I've ever known. He looked at her, really looked, and felt something break free inside him. Maybe that's because it found a reason to. Lyra blinked, her breath catching. The air between them hummed with quiet, impossible closeness. Outside, the stars above Virelia flared in sudden brilliance, as if the galaxy itself remembered what love felt like. That night, as the palace slept and the chambers of the sleeping Virelians glowed in peace once more, Lyra stood by her window watching the human rest. Her voice trembled into the wind. Why do I fear your world more than the stars? Perhaps because for the first time, I want to belong to it. The days that followed the awakening of the stasis chambers felt different, alive, fragile, and full of unspoken meaning. The palace hummed faintly again, its corridors glowing with renewed light, as if Virelia itself had remembered it still had a heart. Elias worked tirelessly beside Lyra, ensuring the systems held steady. Every hour was precious, every breath was shared in quiet urgency. But amidst the hum of machinery and the glow of hope, another current ran between them, gentle, unacknowledged yet impossible to ignore. One evening, when their work was done, and the twin moons of Virelia cast silver ribbons over the balcony, Elias found Lyra standing there motionless, her gaze lost to the sky. They're stable now, he said softly. Your people will live. She didn't turn. Her voice was a whisper threaded with emotion. You say that as though it means the same for both of us. Elias frowned slightly. What do you mean? She finally faced him, her eyes shimmering with that strange celestial light. When my people awaken, I will no longer be their guardian. I will be their ruler again. bound to duty, to law, to everything that is not. This? Her words hung between them, heavy, fragile, and painfully real. Elias took a slow breath. Then maybe they'll need a ruler who remembers what it means to feel. Lyray's lips parted slightly, as if the thought itself was too daring. You speak as if you believe emotion can guide a world. I believe it's the only thing that ever did. Silence. The wind brushed past them, carrying the scent of glowing flora, and for a moment time stood still. Lyray's composure wavered, her eyes softening in the moonlight. You make me believe in impossible things, Elias Thorne. He smiled faintly. Impossible things built your world, didn't they? Her breath caught. Yes, and destroyed it too. She turned back toward the horizon, her voice trembling just enough to break the stillness. When the deep sleep broke, the core sent a signal into space. Others may hear it, Elias stiffened. You mean other species? She nodded slowly. Yes, not all who wander the stars come with peace. He stepped beside her. Then we'll be ready. Her gaze drifted toward him, lingering longer than before. You say we as if you belong here. He met her eyes. Maybe I do. For a heartbeat, neither moved. The air between them was charged, alive with all the words neither dared to speak. Then Lyray stepped closer, her voice barely audible. If I were not a princess. If I were only Lyray, would you still say that? Elias's answer was simple, firm, and unbearably human, especially then. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was full. Full of the ache of two worlds reaching toward each other, knowing the stars themselves might not allow them to meet. Lyray lowered her gaze, her silver hair shimmering under the moonlight. On my world, when two souls promise loyalty, they offer a shard of their heartlight to one another. It is not love, not yet, but it is trust. She lifted her palm. A faint, glowing crystal formed above it, small, delicate, and pulsing with her heartbeat. If you take this, Elias, you carry a part of me. Wherever you go. He hesitated only for a moment before extending his hand. Then I'll keep it safe. As the shard touched his palm, warmth spread through him like living light. For a moment he could feel her thoughts, her memories, her fears, her centuries of solitude. And beneath it all, her growing affection for him. Raw, uncertain, real. Lyray gasped softly as their minds brushed for an instant, then pulled back, her cheeks flushed with light. You shouldn't have felt that much, she whispered, flustered. He smiled faintly. Maybe your heartlight wanted to tell me the truth. For the first time since he met her, Lyray looked away in embarrassment, her regal calm melting into something achingly human. You speak too boldly for a guest of the crown, Elias chuckled quietly. And you smile too beautifully for a queen of silence. The remark drew a soft laugh from her, a sound so warm it felt like the palace itself breathed easier. Above them, a soft meteor shower began to streak across the violet sky, casting light over their faces. Lyray looked up in wonder. We call this the falling of wishes, she said softly. Every shard of light is a dream from the past seeking a place to rest. Elias turned to her. Then I'll make one. She tilted her head. A wish? He nodded. That whatever happens next, you won't face it alone. Lyray's lips trembled as her eyes met his. For a moment she said nothing. Then softly, almost like a confession, she whispered, Then I will make the same wish for you, human. The stars fell quietly above them, and two souls from different worlds stood side by side, their hearts whispering promises the universe itself might one day remember. The peace that followed their wishes was short-lived. 3 days after the falling of wishes, the stars above Virelia began to flicker. The palace lights dimmed as the air grew heavy, charged with unseen tension. Lyray's calm mask returned, but Elias could see the quiet fear flickering behind her eyes. The outer sensors detect movement, she said, her voice steady yet brittle. A fleet, unknown origin. Elias's hand clenched around the rail of the console. They answered the signal. She nodded. And they are not Virelian. He moved closer, reading the holographic scans that shimmered above the table. Dark ships, moving in formation, silent, but deliberate. They carried the same insignia he'd seen once before, back on the frontier colonies. His breath caught. That's not a fleet of explorers. They're scavengers, star harvesters. Lyray turned sharply. Star harvesters? World raiders, Elias said grimly. They drain planets for energy. They won't leave without taking your core. Or worse. For a moment, silence reigned, filled only by the hum of failing light. Then, without hesitation, Lyrae straightened her shoulders. Then they will find Virelia defended. You can't fight them alone, Elias said quickly. Their tech is brutal, ruthless. Her eyes glimmered with defiance. I have defended this world for 7 centuries, Elias Thorne. I will not surrender it now. Elias stepped forward, his voice low but steady. Then let me fight with you. Her gaze softened even as worry shadowed it. You would face death for a world that is not your own? He smiled faintly. It became mine the moment you trusted me. Something in her composure broke then. She turned away before he could see her expression, her voice trembling slightly. Then the stars chose well. They worked quickly. Lyrae reactivated ancient defense systems while Elias adapted the human weaponry from his damaged ship. The palace, once serene, now pulsed with alert signals and the hum of rising power. As night fell, the first ships entered Virelia's atmosphere, streaking fire across the sky. The ground trembled. The once silent plains now echoed with the distant roar of engines. Elias stood on the balcony, scanning the horizon. They'll breach the lower ridge first, he said. Lyrae joined him, her silver hair glinting in the stormlight. Then that is where we meet them. She moved to leave, but he caught her wrist gently. Lyrae. She turned back, startled by the sound of his voice, gentler now, more human than command. If anything happens, he began, but she silenced him with a single shake of her head. Do not speak of endings, human. Speak only of the light we will leave behind. Elias exhaled softly. You sound like one of your songs. Her lips curved faintly. Then let this battle be our melody. The first blast struck the ridge moments later. Lyrae raised her arms and light poured from her hands like the dawn itself. Energy shields bloomed across the mountain face, reflecting the sky's fury. Elias manned the pulse cannons he had rigged from his ship's surviving systems. The air was chaos, flashes of blue and gold, the sound of storms and metal colliding. For hours they fought side by side, Lyrae a beacon of unearthly strength, Elias her shield of stubborn courage. Every time she faltered, his voice steadied her. Every time his resolve wavered, her presence reignited it. But even courage has a price. A blast from above tore through the ridge, throwing Elias backward. He hit the ground hard, pain searing through his ribs. Through the haze of smoke, he saw Lyrae turn, fear breaking across her face. Elias. He tried to stand, but another explosion ripped through the platform. The light from the shield faltered. Lyrae's energy flickered as the strain of maintaining the barrier consumed her strength. He crawled toward her, shouting over the roar. You can't hold it alone. I must, she cried, her voice breaking. If the core falls, they'll destroy everything, every memory, every soul. Elias forced himself to his feet, staggering toward her. Then take mine, he said hoarsely. Take my strength, whatever I have left. Lyrae's eyes widened as he grasped her hands. The moment their palms met, her light surged. The shard she had given him, the piece of her heart light, flared in his chest, connecting them. Power flowed through him like fire and through her like song. Together they restored the shield, driving back the raiders in a storm of brilliance. When the final ship retreated into the clouds, silence fell again. The world glowed with dim, flickering peace. Elias collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Lyrae caught him before he fell, her hands trembling. Elias, you've burned your life force, she whispered, her voice breaking. He smiled weakly. Worth it, do not say that, she cried, tears finally falling. You foolish, beautiful human. You were never meant to carry my light. He looked up at her, eyes soft despite the pain. Maybe I was meant to find it. And for the first time in centuries, Princess Lyrae wept, not for her world, but for the human who had reminded her that even in a dying universe, love could still burn brighter than fear. The dawn after the battle was silent. No wind, no hum, no breath from the stars, only the soft light of morning spilling across the broken ridges of Virelia, and the faint glow of the shield fading at last. Lyrae sat beside Elias where he lay near the balcony edge, the silver horizon stretching endlessly beyond them. His breathing was shallow, his face pale, but his eyes, when they opened, still held that same steady warmth that had changed her world. You're awake, she whispered, brushing a strand of dust from his hair. He managed a faint smile. I didn't plan on leaving just yet. Her voice trembled with both laughter and tears. You shouldn't have given me your strength. It could have destroyed you. It didn't, he murmured softly. It just reminded me what it means to be alive. She looked at him, and for the first time in her long existence, Lyrae couldn't find the words of a queen, only those of a woman. You've risked everything for a world that isn't yours. Elias turned his head toward her. Then maybe it is now. Maybe home isn't where you're born. It's where someone needs you. Her chest ached at his words. You speak as if you belong to every sunrise. He chuckled weakly. Only the ones worth seeing. Silence fell again, soft and heavy. Around them, the palace still glowed faintly from the aftermath of their joined light. The great heart of Viralia pulsed slower now, peaceful, alive once more. Lyrae's gaze drifted toward the horizon. The core has stabilized. The deep sleep chambers are safe, my people. They will awaken soon. That's good, Elias said, his voice fading slightly. They'll have you, her eyes lowered. They'll have their queen. But not... She stopped herself. The next words trembled on her tongue. Not the man who reminded her how to feel. Elias reached for her hand, his touch weak but sure. Don't lose that feeling, Lyrae, promise me. Don't go back to silence. She clasped his hand tightly between hers. I can't promise that, she said softly. Because silence will follow me. When you go. His eyes searched hers, filled with something deeper than pain. Then make it remember me. Her breath hitched. How? He smiled faintly. You're the princess of songs, right? Sing one for me, just one. So when your people wake, they'll know a human once fought for their tomorrow. Tears blurred her vision. Elias, and no song could hold you. Then whisper, he said, voice now barely a breath. Whisper my name to the stars. They'll carry it farther than I ever could. Lyrae's heart broke quietly, her fingers trembling as she held his hand to her chest. Elias Thorne, she whispered, voice cracking. Don't you dare let go. The stars haven't finished with you yet. He smiled, peacefully this time. Then maybe I'll wait for them. Beside you. And with that his hand went still. For a moment the universe seemed to stop. The palace dimmed, the lights of the chambers flickered, and the wind itself fell silent. Lyrae leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his, her tears glowing faintly as they fell upon his skin. I will remember, she whispered, every word, every heartbeat. Then she closed her eyes and began to sing. It was a song that no translation device could capture. A melody woven from grief, love, and eternity itself. Her voice rose through the ruins and into the morning sky, echoing through the mountains and the hearts of her sleeping people. The song carried his name, his courage, and the light he had given her. The stars listened. And they answered. A soft, golden glow emerged from Elias's chest, the shard of heartlight she had once given him. It pulsed faintly, then brighter until it left his body, hovering before her like a living memory. Slowly it drifted toward her heart, merging back into her chest with a warmth that felt like his final embrace. Lyrae gasped, her eyes filling with tears and light. She could feel him, his voice, his warmth, his laughter echoing softly within her soul. He's part of you now, whispered the palace, its ancient voice awakening at last. The bond you forged has no end. Lyrae rose slowly, her gown glimmering like dawn. She looked up at the stars, her voice breaking through the silence one last time. If the stars ever carry whispers across their seas, she said softly, let them tell every world that humanity's heart can outshine the coldest void. Above Viralia, the twin moons glowed brighter and the stars shimmered as if bowing in reverence. And somewhere beyond sight, beyond time where souls and starlight meet, a familiar voice whispered back, I never left. Lyrae. The princess smiled through her tears, her voice trembling with love and light. Then let this world remember your name forever, my human. And the stars, faithful as ever, carried her whisper into eternity.